osterizer, blender. At one time, blending was equivalent to osterizing. The osterizers, the ones that really pioneered the blending technology, they came up with a blender not only with sharp blades, high RPMs, strong wattage, but also, notice over here, metallic stainless steel coupling. It never wears out. 20 years later, it's still working. They really innovated the technology. And also, the nice thing about it, they continue to stay cost effective. To go out to Walmart or some other discount place, you can purchase blender top with a blender base, as well as also a food processor unit for about $35. And it'll just keep on giving. You could, if you wanted to have a separate unit, you can always purchase Black & Decker for about 30 bucks food processor, or you can buy the Ninja for about $85.90, that is 900 watts. This one is about 350 watts, but it does the job well. I recall in the days when I used to do expos and feed 5,000 people on a single weekend, we would have our osterizer running practically non-stop. We had 2 or 3 such units, and they would be blending, chopping, creating dressings, and that was utilizing nuts and seeds, and yet we were paying $25 to $30, and they just kept on functioning, never having a neurological breakdown because of the stress of their workload. They just kept on doing 24 hours non-stop. So they're good choices. Now, you might want to innovate and someday to look at a bigger unit, and that's the Ninja. It's 900 watts and about 2-quart size. This one is more like 5 cups, but for any family, it will do the job. Or you'll get a Vitamix blender, which is going to cost you now in the area of around $400. And they are definitely great jewels. There is also another one, and another one that has been innovated in a similar kind of price range. But I go back to either Vitamix for my usage. When speed counts, when economy counts, osterizer does the job. So what we're going to do is demonstrate first the production of sauerkraut and talk about how we would make kimchi. Why sauerkraut? First of all, it is one of the most important foods, any kind of fermented foods on a daily basis. Makes all the difference on your friendly bacteria cultures, the probiotics in your gastrointestinal tract, as well as protection. According to the research, which you can find on the internet, from pandemics. Koreans have done the research. Korean Nutritional Department in 2007. When there was the avian flu was of consideration, the swine flu. Later on, they found that not only it protected, but it cured. The Germans showed that the same thing happens with sauerkraut. So it's the fermentation, it's the microbes, the friendly microbes, and your body has 20 to 100 times more friendly bacteria. In a healthy individual, that's one that is not on antibiotic therapy programs or drinking chlorinated water. No, a healthy individual has 20 to 100 times more friendly bacteria in the GI tract, as well as your skin, mouth, tongue, hair, everywhere in your body. 10 to 20 times more than they have cells in their body. And they are the source of fixating nitrogen, producing amino acids that your body can successfully utilize. Over 30 grams have been identified. Producing the B complex vitamins, including B12, producing tons of enzymes, especially when you add to your production of your sauerkraut, you add some sunflower seeds, shelled sunflower seeds, and maybe like a half a cup of shelled sunflower seeds and a half a cup of quinoa. This will give you high amylase, starch digesting, complex carbohydrate digesting enzymes. It'll give you a high volume of amylase as well as protease for protein digestion and lipase for fat digestion. So that is the way to do it, and the whole thing can be accomplished very quickly. Now, how do we go about doing it? Well, we take our food processor and we're going to fill it up as high as it can go in with chopped cabbage. And what we do is we'll take a small sized head of cabbage, chop it in half, and then take the half and just put it on the table on your cutting board and slice it up. Okay? Slice it up as if it was bread, and then we're going to rotate the whole thing and slice it crisscross fashion. One more time. Hi! Wow!
Hi.
What's going on?
What's going on?
We're getting invasion by the audience.
Yes.
Well, this is the cabbage, and of course we remove the lid and we toss it in. Okay, that fits in well. We break it up a little bit, and to make sure that it's going to be also lovely sweetness. This way we end up getting a sweet-sour combination. What we're going to do is, well, we'll put this cabbage aside, and we're going to add to it some, yes, beet. Beet is a blood builder. It adds also beautiful sugars. The bacteria love it, and it'll give you a sweet. I took one small beet, peeled it, and the skins are very high in oxalic acid, so I kind of avoid that, and also dirt. And I chop it up after peeling it, and I'm going to put it into the food processor. Then we're going to add just a tiny bit of sea salt for the friendly bacteria, you know, just a dab, okay? And then to make the whole food processor run well and give it a much higher liquid media, we're going to add to it some water. So about a cup, okay? So we add about a cup, actually more like 2 cups, okay? So this is half a quart, 2 cups, okay? So we've done that. Then the next thing we do is, of course, we're going to put the lid on, and the lid fits on very easily, as you can see. And we're going to just twist it toward one direction, and it locks in. There we go, and it locks in. And then we put it on the pulse rate. Here we go, and off we go to the wild beyonder.
Woo!
Isn't there a lot of power in this? It's only $35 power. Good on the thrifty lifestyle budget. And we all know this is thrifty times. Isn't that fantastic? Don't stick your hands in there. But it's got protection, so you either, if you remove the lid, you can't stick your hands in there. Well, we're going to see how well we've done. Well, look at that. It's all ground up. Now, by chopping it up in this fashion, what we have done is make it expose a larger surface area for the microbes to eat, so that the whole digestion process is quicker. We noticed that some of the items were not yet fully chopped up, so what we're going to do is give it a little bit of second round of running it through, to make sure that everything is chopped up fine, though there's nothing wrong with putting some chunks in there. They'll give you extra chewing for yourself. Okay, so you turn it on a little bit more. Okay, time enough to play.
A little tap in your hands.
Okay, and then we're going to take a bowl, and it can be glass, it can be hard plastic, it can be preferably glass or stainless steel. But even hard plastic will work out fine. And all we do is just take this whole thing and empty it. Now in it falls also the blade, which is okay. So we set aside this unit, pull out the blade, okay? And then we take the mixture and press it down. There's going to be plenty of liquid, and we want to just press it all down, okay? And then we're going to take a plate and cover the kraut, and then we're going to take a towel and cover it so that first the plate will keep the kraut, the cabbage, underwater, which is very important. Bacteria don't do well without a liquid medium. And this to protect any birds or bats that might be flying around in your room from droppings on your precious kraut. And this, you can leave it at room temperature, but if you want to accelerate the whole growing process, we could put it in a dehydrator and set it at 100 degrees Fahrenheit. We could also put it like into an oven and have the door just slightly ajar and set it at the lowest setting. And within a period less than 24 hours, 16 hours or so, the sauerkraut, whoa, it's done. How do you know it is done? Well, the microbes will tell you by the fragrance they are going to be exuding. You'll smell not cabbagey, okay, lemonish, and then of course you can stick your finger in it or with a teaspoon, taste it. It will taste sour. Now you can add a little more sea salt if you wish and pour it in a glass storing jar and refrigerate it. But it doesn't have to stop there. You can, and of course, I neglected to say that after we've done the production of food processing of the cabbage, we would have added maybe a half a cup of sunflower and half a cup of quinoa. Though the quinoa should be soaked overnight in a separate sprouting bag and then put in there, because the grains have enzyme inhibitors that it's good to get rid of them by the pre-soaking process. And probably I would, even for optimal results, I would do the same thing with the sunflower. Just mix sunflower, half a cup of quinoa, soak it overnight, and then mix it into this production. This way you're going to have hundreds of times more enzyme production. And why is that? See, the nutrient density of a cabbage is very low, whereas the nutrient density of protein, starch, and fat is very high in the combination of quinoa and sunflower. And the bacteria, the amount of enzymes that they manufacture is totally dependent. It's a function of the nutritional environment. That's why if you just have it cabbage, it will produce many probiotics but very little enzymes. If you have the sunflower and the quinoa or some other grain, it will produce very high volume of enzymes, which it creates and excretes it in its attempt to digest the protein, fat, and starch that is found in the sunflower and quinoa. Now, we can do another magic things. In the soaking, in the fermentation, we can add some finely chopped cabbage, cabbage like red cabbage, but also like cauliflower, also broccoli, all superfoods, very powerful nutritional dense foods, as well as hot pepper, red pepper, thinly sliced ginger, thinly sliced garlic, some small scallions. You could put in there horseradish, thinly sliced, and all of a sudden you got a very hot kimchi. This is the Korean version.
Look this way, Viktoras. Over here. I cut that out. Yeah, it's all good. It's just better this way, yeah.
So, the kimchi version. And now it'll keep for weeks and months in a refrigerator. It might even keep for quite a long time without refrigeration, depending on the acidity, as long as you keep the vegetables below the water surface. If the vegetables are above the water surface, you might have some moldiness develop. But mind you, as soon as you see molds, don't panic. Myself, I've seen that occur enough times. I just end up scooping off the mold and getting rid of and cleaning up that whole top environment, and I will eat the rest of my sauerkraut or kimchi. So it's not as dangerous as one would think. But if your sauerkraut smells bad, off it goes to the compost heap. You blew it somewhere along the way. But even the first time individual, almost 100% guaranteed you will get good batch. Sometimes, for whatever reasons, you might end up getting bad batch. That's why you got your nose. Your nose knows what is edible and what is pathogenically unsuitable because of the kind of bacteria that have taken on residency. So, enjoy sauerkraut, enjoy kimchi, enjoy long life, enjoy tasty, super nutritious foods that provide maximum nutrition, and yet in such a cost-effective way. Remember, practically the cheapest vegetable that you could have is a cabbage and beef. And now it has been the richest food in terms of enzymes and bacteria by little cooperation between you and the microbial world. I thank you and I love you, and it's a great side dish to your sprout salad. I like to take this after it's produced. One of the things I do, I might blend it further and then add to it a little bit more sea salt, maybe some avocado and sprouts, and I have a sauerkraut soup or borscht that is so popular among the Russians, where we add more beets and then we add the sprouts as a last resort. You might add even a little bit of olive oil or avocado, but I try to minimize the oil usage for maximum energetics, highest blood flow. So I thank you until we meet once again at our non-animal-based dairy industry. Love you, Viktoras.org.